Oh yeah, I want to talk. So specifically, it's been really interesting watching Hololive members play this game, because I was like, oh, new Hololive fan game. Of course, some of them are going to check it out. And the responses have been. I just kind of skimmed through a couple of the streams, and actually, Kiara was streaming it earlier today, and I was like, why not? I'll just watch like an hour of that while I'm eating my breakfast. And well, there's a few really interesting things, because most of them are not fighting gamers, right? They may fight and they're gamers, but they are not fighting gamers. Corone had no trouble at all, because she actually plays fighting games. Yes, I would describe her as a fighting gamer. She actually plays Street Fighter in like SF5. And her thumbnail was great. It was like her as fucking Akuma with like the raging demon. She had no problem, and she got the hang of it really fast. I think Botan mostly just looked at like a lot of the animations and stuff like that. I didn't watch too much of like Botan's stream. Oh wait, who what? There was like two people specifically who had. Well, there was like, oh, Iris and Kiara, who are never. I think they both said they've never really played a fighting game, only like maybe once or twice their entire life. They had like very similar reactions to trying to wrap their heads around the game, which is really interesting to watch, like a very new player experience live. And I think it's like, wow, I hope I know the devs were watching. I hope that they take that and improve the tutorial. Oh my god, yeah. Dude, the standard fighting game tutorial is so dog shit. It's so bad. There was... I remember both of them had the exact same reaction of like, they get like a couple... they do the whole tutorial. Even though the tutorial is like... It's broken up by all these different segments that are like basic, intermediate, advanced. It just presents it kind of to you all in a row, and you can just go do all of them in a row and not even realize you're already in the advanced section. And both of them had a moment where they were like, I'm not going to remember all this. I'm going to forget this as soon as this is over. It's trying to explain so much shit to them, just so much. It's like, okay, It's trying to explain like the basic movement and blocking and the chain combos and system mechanics, like the super chat cancels and the like EX moves and supers and high-low blocking and all this, and like overheads and like it's just way, and like how the assists work, and there's like a billion different like buttons and button combinations. And like what makes it, and the whole time they have to be like, okay, because I think both of them were playing on like controller, on like gamepad, and they're looking and they're like, okay, L, that's actually, for like, the light attack, that's X or whatever, or, it's like it's A, or they have to like constantly, like, you could see them looking down at their controllers like, what the, okay, that's this button, what the, okay. Just way too much information that you're throwing at a player, and you just kind of like do it once and then it's done. And it was like, I think I saw the same thing in like 3 or 4 different streams where they would go and they were at the part where it was like chaining different attacks of the same, what do you even call it? Same heaviness together? It would be like chaining 2 lights. So normally the game does not allow you to chain lights into each other. Like, you can't, like, like in a lot of like anime fighters, you can't just do like 5L, 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 5L in a row. You would have to do something like 5L, 2L. So you can do like standing to crouching or crouching to standing. And so it's just, all it's asking is do standing light into crouching light and just cancel them into each other. Bop, bop. Just like really simple, straightforward thing. But the way that it was presented was the icon for light and then an icon for down, and then an icon for light again. And the exact same thing happened every single time. They would go up, press light, walk backwards, and press light again. Or sorry, not walk backwards, crouch, and then stand and press light again. And it's like, that's not their fault, right? Like, the information isn't being conveyed very clearly. If I had no idea about, like, I can just look at that and figure, like, even I think that's not, that way of showing, like, writing out the information is not very useful, but I can at least, like, infer, because, like, I just know, oh, that doesn't really make any sense. I think they want me to do, like, a standing into a crouching attack. Because you can't, it doesn't make any sense to just crouch in the middle of your combo and then stand again. Like, what? But they don't know that. A new player doesn't know that. That's not clear, right? They're not familiar with these just, like, genre conventions. And then eventually they would figure out, oh, it's you hold down, and then hit light. 5L2L. And you only do it one time, and then it's on to the next thing, and then it's like way too fast. And it's not how you teach. It's not really how you teach people new skills. Like, this isn't the edge method. Don't worry, it's not a sex thing. The edge method was a thing we learned in Scouts. It's a method for teaching people a new skill, and it stands for explain, demonstrate, guide, enable. And it's basically, we want to teach something like, hey, you want to teach someone how to tie a knot, right? So at first, you sit them down and you show them, okay, so this knot is we're doing the square knot. So the basic premise so the reason you want to do a square knot is like this and this. You explain what it is. It's not very difficult, right? So we're going to be doing this, this, and this, okay? You're going to loop it around here, wrap it around there, loop that through that, and then tighten, right? Okay, and then now I'm going to demonstrate it. Okay, so hey, look, just like I said, loop it around here, wrap it through there, loop it back around, tighten. Okay, see? You see that? And maybe you might have to do it like once or twice. Now you hand the rope to them and you say, okay, now we're in the guide section. And you say, okay, I want you to try, just do the exact same thing I did, and I'm going to talk you through it. And you're like, okay, fuck, what's the first thing? It's you loop it around like, you loop it around like this. Yeah, you loop it around like that. What's the next the thing? Maybe they start doing it wrong. You're like, no, actually you do, you wrap it around there. You go, okay, wrap it around there. And then you go through the whole thing until they do it. And they say, okay, I got it. And then the last step, enable, is you let them do it on their own. And not all of these are going to just be like, oh, once each. You might have to guide them through it multiple times. You might have to demonstrate it multiple times. You might have to re-explain things. But eventually you're building up with you're showing them, and then you're slowly transitioning the skill or transitioning the doing of the thing onto the learner, onto the student, until they can do it confidently on their own. I think there's even like there's a thing, some psychological thing that like you don't really get something until you do it like 3 times. Something like that. All of this to say, there are many better ways that you can teach someone the basics of a fighting game. The tutorial in Idol Showdown is not particularly good. And what's funny is that they would do that and then they'd just go back to playing like AI matches, and they would be having a much better time. Just kind of learning as they button mash. And you can kind of see a little bit of growth as they go on. Like they sort of figure out the natural way that things kind of chain together from light to heavy. They can tell like they get a little better at like spacing. Sometimes they get better at blocking. Not all of them. Like these things just sort of naturally build up by doing. And if there was some way to like combine both of these sorts of ways of learning, that'd probably be best. I think that's the idea behind World Tour mode in SF6, since we were talking about that earlier. Yeah, I think, fighting game tutorials are a subject that's been talked about to death. I think it's good to have like that kind of encyclopedia that you can refer back to. But it's real. Kat just DM'd me. She just saw someone. She's at a mall right now. She just saw someone cosplaying as Nico Yazawa from Love Live. Fuck, she changed her profile picture to goddamn Celine from Before Sunrise. I was like, you bet. We were watching it. We were watching Before Sunrise. I was like, I better not go on Discord tomorrow morning and see that you changed your profile picture to her. You better not, because I'm not switching to Ethan Hawke. Anyway, yeah. Really interesting to watch the new player experience of everything from like, oh, this is pretty, this is like really complicated, to, oh, this is kind of fun when you just kind of like sit down and press buttons. Kiara ended up playing with Calliope, so they ended up linking up and playing together in a lobby. And Callie is more versed in fighting games. She's actually played like Guilty Gear before, not to like a very intermediate level, but she's at least like kind of familiar with it. And Kiara specifically said, you made this experience way better because you kind of guided me a little bit. Hey, the G in guide. You guided me through this a little bit. Like, she was kind of teaching her how to do motions and teaching her about like high-low blocking and things like that in ways that were much easier for her to understand. And that was neat. Neat. And unfortunately, you would want it to be in a position where you wouldn't need someone else to like come in and guide a player so that they can hope to understand a game. But excuse me. But yeah. Really fascinating to watch. I think if you're curious about watching a new player experience, there's a ton of great information. If you want to do like a scientific study with like the control group, with like a control group, go watch some of those Hololive streamers playing Idol Showdown for the first time and just see the experience playing the exact same game. Generally, most of them started out with like looking at the tutorial and all that, and just see like what the actual learning experience is like. Like, it's actually very valuable information. It's one of the things is that when you are really well versed in something, or when you're very familiar with a genre or anything in general, it's so easy to forget what it's like to be a new player in something. And so there's things for me, like, this game was very simple to me, like really simple to just pick up and grasp for the most part. I just had to get used to like some of the quirks of how the specific system mechanics work and things like that. But for the most part, I was able to like figure out pretty much everything without looking at like a move list. Or even, I haven't even played the tutorial, and I basically figured everything out just from messing around in training mode. But for someone who's brand new, it's a very different experience. There's a fighting game streamer, Giuna, and he has been tweeting recently about how he's kind of the inverse of a lot of people. He's been playing fighting games his whole life, never really played shooters. And he has a friend who's trying to teach him Valorant. It was Valorant. And he was like, holy shit. I never realized, or he realized he'd completely lost the perspective of what it's like to be a total newbie at something, a complete beginner at even just a video game genre, and how important that is. That's why I think it's good to just, I think it's good to like keep expanding your horizons with just trying out different types of games and stuff like that. I was playing like Age of Mythology recently. It was on Steam. It was on sale for decently cheap. And do I like it that much? It's fine. Maybe I'm just not super into its specific style of like RTS semi-civilization building gameplay. Just maybe not super my thing, right? But I'm glad that I at least tried it out. Like, I don't really expect to go back to it soon. I put about 5 hours into it, and it was about enough for me. Yeah, so like trying new things, it's like it's not just one of the biggest benefits of trying new things is just learning, being able to remember what it's like to be a beginner, and having that experience is, I think, really valuable. So try new stuff.